Today, if you walk or drive past the ANZ Bank on Waterworks Road, Ashgrove, you might be in for a surprise. Because out front, a little bit later on this morning, you'll probably see a naked man with only a protest sign covering his assets, shall we say. Paul Herman is about to lose everything. His house, everything, his property, and the bank is going to take it away. He says it's the ANZ's fault that they provided him with a loan where the loan application form improperly and incorrectly stated his income. Now, this came under scrutiny, you may recall, during the Banking Royal Commission. Mr. Herman's been in nearly a 12-year battle with the ANZ around this matter. I spoke to him this morning and asked him to explain why he's undertaking this protest today.
Okay, because I'm desperate, basically, the ANZ is going to take my house.
And why is the ANZ going to take your house?
They've actually tried to proceed with legal action. The matter's before AFCA at the moment, but I'm running out of time with AFCA. And basically what happened is they inflated my income by up to 625%. It's called predatory lending.
So explain how that happened, because I interviewed you about this some years ago, and you had the forms that you claimed at that time that were filled out in the period of what we call the liar loans in Australia, when banks were apparently reckless or allegedly reckless in their signing up of people to loans. How do you say this happened, Paul Herman?
What happened was the ANZ representative from ANZ Mobile Lending came to my home, and he filled out part of the form. I filled out part of the form, but he went away with the form not completed. And so I thought that he was going to transfer figures from my tax returns onto the form. But instead of doing that, he inflated my figures.
I recall speaking to you 2 years ago about this when you initially started protesting outside the ANZ branch or head office in the heart of Brisbane. And you had a lot of documentation at that time. Why haven't you been able to prove legally that the forms had been filled in by the mobile lender representative of the bank?
Well, ANZ Bank has not denied it. So my
why haven't you been able to prove that this form was filled out by the mobile lender of the ANZ is what I'm asking, Paul.
It's clearly in his handwriting. So the false figures are clearly in his handwriting. My tax returns were emailed to him. FOSS accepted that my tax returns were emailed to him. So he did not put the figures from the tax returns into the loan application forms as he said he would do.
And as a result, on the loan application, your income was inflated. Now, what was the result of that, Paul Herman? From the result of having your income inflated on the loan application, what resulted?
Well, I had an illness, and I just was not able to meet the repayments. So I kept on trying to sell properties. The property turned down, and so I had negative equity, and it just became really impossible, and I was quite unwell.
All right. I seem to recall that you actually had a couple of properties at that time.
Yeah.
Okay. And you have since lost them. Is that correct?
I've lost 2 properties. So I spoke to the CEO, Shane Elliott, at the ANZ AGM. He said, be reasonable, because I said that, look, you guys forged my documents, and I want to have the properties. I don't want to lose everything, because I had quite a good-sized property portfolio before the ANZ lent me the money. So I said that I wanted just the 4 remaining properties, and the CEO said, be reasonable. And so what happened was I ended up giving 2 of the properties to ANZ, and all I want is 1 property so that I can have at least some income for my retirement.
And what was the response of ANZ?
Well, the CEO said be reasonable, so I've been reasonable, but ANZ just won't. They don't want to give me anything. So originally they said I could have 2 blocks of land. Now they say they won't give me anything.
So basically,
they just want to take the lot.
You basically won't own any property at all after ANZ undertakes this legal action.
Look, that's correct. Yeah.
So they're basically trying to liquidate everything.
Yep. I also went back this year, and another ANZ victim got up and gave the board and the CEO a real roasting about this sort of behaviour of fraudulently altering loan application forms.
You're holding a protest today because the ANZ wants to liquidate all of your property portfolio. You were in a state of a sort of semi-negotiation with ANZ and said, look, you said to them, I'll give you 2 properties, but I need to keep 1. And you thought verbally they had agreed to that, but now that's off the table by the sounds of it.
Well, they never agreed. So what happened was they said that they would let me have the 2 blocks of land, and they were going to get the 2 houses. And then they've reneged on that deal, and they said that they want everything. So they won't even give me 1 block of land.
How many years has this been going on, Paul? Because I seem to recall interviewing you a couple of years ago about this. How many years has this been underway?
Look, I've been fighting the ANZ for 12 years, and that's not unusual. I've got, as running a support group, I have a number of ANZ victims and other bank victims who've been fighting for decades. It's horrible. Look, obviously I'd like to move on, but until I get an agreement with ANZ, I've got to keep on fighting. And I've just got to up the ante. That's why today I'm prepared to take to do a naked protest, because honestly, I just need to get the ANZ to come to the party and be reasonable.
This all started, I think, in the period of what became known in the financial press as the liar loans, where overly enthusiastic bank representatives or mortgage brokers filled in people's documents that overinflated their income. Looking back on that now, do you think you should have been more cautious when you allowed the person writing up the mortgage documents to simply insert the figures for you rather than you doing it or checking it in front of them?
Look, ideally, I would have got a copy of the loan application form. So I don't know how you put in an application, but you don't get a copy of that. Now, it just didn't occur to me at the time, but look, absolutely, it's vitally important that you get a copy of the loan application form.
Ultimately, what do you want to happen, Paul Herman?
I want the ANZ to be reasonable and to give me the ownership of my house. It's not worth a lot of money. It's full of termites at the moment, so I've got to fix that. And the block of land. It's on Russell Island, so they're not worth a lot of money.
Paul Herman, how many other people do you believe in your support group have had a similar concern with a bank, any bank, where the bank representative or mobile banking agent incorrectly filled out the mortgage application forms?
I would have hundreds.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Steve.
Paul Herman, protesting naked later on today outside the ANZ Bank, Waterworks Road in Ashgrove. So depending on how you see it, either be cautious or at least you'll know what's going on. An ANZ spokesperson told us that, and I quote, Mr. Herman has had a number of disputes with ANZ since 2014. The Independent Complaints Authority, the AFCA, which is the Australian Financial Complaints Authority, the AFCA, as well as its predecessor, the Financial Ombudsman Service, has previously considered Mr. Herman's claims for 4 out of 5 ANZ loans and found that Mr. Herman's claims are unsubstantiated. As the Australian Financial Complaints Authority is assessing Mr. Herman's claim on the 5th loan, the ANZ is unable to comment further. That's a statement from the ANZ about Mr. Paul Herman, who'll be protesting later on today outside a bank at Ashgrove.
You're with Steve Austin
Streaming live on the ABC Listen app
on 6:12 a.m.
and on your smart speaker.
This is ABC Radio Brisbane.